Your discernment has to be one of your strongest skills. Do y'all know what discernment is, chat? Do y'all know what I mean when I say discernment? Discernment is so important. Discernment with people, discernment with places, discernment with information. Discernment. No, I appreciate you, Magnus. I appreciate you. And this is why I say you can't. You still have to act and get it wrong anyway, because you're just never going to get it right. You're never going to get it right. You're never going to get it perfect. You know, you just got to make the adjustment when you find out you fucked up. JJ34 Ward, I appreciate the T1 sub. That's what I mean by discernment, bro. You literally damn near have to become who's the guy from like this like Bad Vibes on Christmas? Who's that guy? Scrooge. You literally damn near have to become a version of you has to be Scrooge like. You gotta be a version of you has to be like the Grinch. You have to accept the role and character of people looking at you or harboring negative opinions towards you. And again, remember, their reaction is only a projection of what they believe about themselves in relation to you anyway. So it's never going to be a flawless take on you anyway. So once you really understand that, you start letting shit go in general. But back to what I was saying. The reason I say that because you need discernment. Discernment is a biblical term. Right? For those that don't know, it's a biblical term. And if I had to summarize it in my own words, the ability to judge well when you're making decisions. And you cannot afford, funny we're talking about finances, you cannot afford to have poor discernment. If you have anything of value, and naturally you do. First of all, the first thing of value you have is your time. And then you start to boost your own self-esteem and confidence up a little bit. And then you start to say, okay, not only is my time valuable, my attention is valuable. We go to the second phase. Then you move up. You move up with your self-esteem and your confidence and your self-awareness. And you say, okay, not only is my time and my attention valuable, my presence. Oh my God. Wait, my presence is valuable. Oh my goodness. Then you move up in confidence and self-esteem. And you say my time, my attention, and my presence. Then you say what? What's next, chat? What's next, chat? The conversations I have let me just stop right there. The conversations I have are valuable. Then you move up. Right? You move up. You say, oh shit, my time is valuable. My attention is valuable. My presence is valuable. My conversation is valuable. Then you move up. There's even a level beyond that. Who you are having these conversations with becomes even more valuable. Right? Discerning who you're talking to is valuable. Because you could be at the right place at the right time. Right? Having the right conversation. But it's a brick wall. It's a wolf in sheep's clothing. It's oftentimes the type of person I think about where you ever get this feeling you're talking to somebody and their mind is already made up. And it's not obvious. If they make it obvious, they're not good at what they do. I'm talking on some high level manipulation shit. Their mind is already made up. B, this is the even sneakier one, like the dark psychology one. They're always shifting it. That sounds like actually being intentional. So I don't want to word this. Understand this, and I know I'm not explaining it good enough, but I have to say what I'm thinking. They're always shifting it to what their end goal was before they even started talking to you. They're not even really listening. They're always shifting it back to what their ideal end goal is. They're like seeing through you. They're like purposely ignoring every flag or sign in the conversation that a regular person would back off from. And I hate to even use this. Or explain that. Can you give an example? I don't know why. The most recent example I thought about, bro, there was a guy who mounted my TV right in my living room, and dude was actually a cool dude, right? He was an older guy too. He was a cool dude. Found out I was from Philly from my area code because he was from Philly himself, right? And he was actually very talented musically, right? As a rapper. Gave me his whole background story. Like we talked for hours, even beyond the mountain of TV. We was just talking, like just genuine connection. And he saw in my living room, I had a piano, I got my guitar, the amp, I got a bunch of musical shit around. He's like, what do you do? Do I do producers and all that? We just having a conversation. I'm just talking about what I do. I'm just playing instruments. I make music. This was months ago, by the way. Fast forward to talk about what matters during the conversation. He gets into, I feel like I could take off at any moment with myself. Listen, I just don't know how to make beats. I just haven't locked in with anyone. I just need my opportunity, man. I haven't locked in with anyone that knows how to make beats. Now he's positioning to where I'm that guy for him. And I'm like, bro, I'm not even producing yet. You know what I'm saying? Respectfully, I'm not even producing yet, right? So dude's going, even though I'm letting him know, listen, I'm a loner in life, period. I'm a loner. I like being alone. I like my freedom, my space, and I value that a lot. And I'm emphasizing that in the conversation. Regardless of what was said, he still kept pushing this narrative of listen, all right, well, listen, all right, let's just exchange numbers and we'll do this. It didn't matter what I said or how I said it. In his mind, he was going to use me for the purpose of being the opportunity he had to make or break his career. And to me, that was on some shit of I'm like, bro, no, nigga, no. But I think dude was harmless. So that's the only example I could think of somebody having a conversation with you, but they're not listening. They're just relentlessly going at what they want. They don't even give a fuck what you say. They said, what's the topic, Dre? Now we're talking about money. We're having a conversation about money and shit. The problem with this is, though, already, if you are the type of person who's making over 5K, 10K, 20K a month, and you're trying to make more, your discernment is going to tell you to stay away from people like that. Why? Because that is different forms of two sides, right? It's different forms. When two sides come together, you can call it multiple things. You can call it a collaboration. You can call it a competition. You can call it, you know what? I let me pull this up. Hold on. I remember this. I had a communication class. Okay, you can call it compromising, collaborating, competing, accommodating, or avoiding. When two sides come together, I had this in a college course before. This is why I just remember this. When two sides come together, it can either be called competing, collaborating, compromising, accommodating, or avoiding. Right? Now, this was a lot decided by this has to do with conflict resolution and stuff like that, and personality types and communication and stuff like this. This was a relationship communication class I had at college. This was such an interesting topic. And one of the problems is when one side benefits or others and another doesn't. I believe that was a compromise. When it's both sides aren't benefiting, it was viewed as a competition. I think the turtle style was avoidance, and it had to do with not caring and letting the other person have it and just being used any way you want. The point I'm getting at is if you are a good business person, you always look for a collaboration, if anything. You don't look to be accommodating. You don't look to compromise. And you're really not competing. Because you have to look at your own self as your own unique person. No one can replace you, add, or do what you do. So how could you compete anyway? You can't compete when you don't compare. And then avoidance, it's like that was the weakest personality type. That was like poor self-esteem. There was like even a chart for this shit. I want to find the chart. Right. So the chart had to do with like, let me just pull it up. This is a dumbass example. This is gonna look goofy as hell, but this is really like some college level shit. Put it on my screen. Can y'all see my screen, chat? Is this the only chart I can find on this shit? I think this one had the best to do with it. Like how assertive you are and how cooperative you are. And if you're low in assertiveness and low in cooperativeness, then you will avoid things. I lose, you lose, neither nor type of language. If you're cooperative but not assertive, you're like a teddy bear. You accommodate. I lose, you win, either or. You give in, right? You're a quitter. You're a bitch, basically. The shark, high in assertiveness, low in cooperativeness, right? I win, you lose. My way or the highway type of shit. Strong in the or mentality. O-R, or. It's either, you're not even going to say either. You're giving ultimatums and shit. The fox is like compromising, cunning like a fox and shit like that. But the owl is collaborating. I win, you win. The owl has a and-like mentality. The owl tends to be like an overseer. The animals were meant to represent like the personalities and the shit like that. It's a very interesting concept. And with the owl, if you think of owls and how they hunt and how they live in nature, most owls, they have great eyesight, great hearing. I don't know about the eyesight part. I know owls have impeccable hearing, bro. They can hear from miles away, I believe. And they tend to be very observational, quiet, and they pay attention. They oversee things. How do I disagree without being disagreeable? How do you go swim without getting wet? But that's an example of what I'm saying, where you're going to have to accept being the Scrooge. You're going to have to accept being... Now, in a perfect world, even in a perfect world, everything's not going to be collaboration. Just because it depends on the other person, too. The other person may see it as a competition. The other person may have the level of self-esteem and perception of themselves where they avoid things. And like I said, this is why your discernment is very important, because there's too much information out here, chat. We live in the time of information. We do. You're not going to get it 100% correct, but we just do live in a time of information where there's too much out here. So again, you're making all that money a month, you're trying to rise higher and higher and higher. Guess what? You have to be cautious. You cannot be careless. One of my favorite quotes from The Godfather: women and children can be careless, but men can't. Confrontation is not necessarily a bad thing. It's actually important. You tend to see the strength of a person, a plan, or a situation only after it has been challenged. Only through argumentation do you get a holistic, complete picture of a situation, right? Because there's blind spots naturally that everyone has. So if me and you argue, or me and you disagree, I'm going to show you your blind spots, and you may also show me mine. Now, there's obviously a level of cognitive dissonance, meaning hard-headedness, right? Where you just can't convince me of anything because I don't care. I'm going to see it the way I want to see it no matter what. Right? Cognitive dissonance, where you could dead-ass show a person in 4K they're wrong. You could go point for point, proving them wrong, and they just won't change their minds, change their argument, or look themselves in the mirror and say, damn, am I wrong? And how could I be? And this is where you tend to get into like name calling, emotional backlashes, and things like that. Facts stop you with confrontation. You'll bend up your shadow and what you drown you if it's not addressed. Exactly. You could always tell I'm telling you, you could definitely tell people's intelligence by how emotional they get during disagreements. and you know, if you ever see somebody arguing or disagreeing with somebody and they go for like low blows or they go to be disrespectful, you can tell that other person has met a wall in either their own confidence or knowledge of what they're talking about. Why? Because true argumentation is going to go, you believe X because of Y. So I'm going to show you Z that proves X is wrong. And then I'm supposed to go, well, I'm going to show you G that proves Z is wrong going back to my X. You know, that it might sound dumb as fuck. Honestly, if you can't imagine that, I ain't gonna lie. That sounded dumb as fuck. I don't know. I feel like being an old person isn't how old you are, but how much you choose to learn once you step learning. You get, damn, my knee really be hurting, bro. I don't know why the fuck my knee be hurting. Yeah, not even like chess. That's why I love the book. I think, was it, The Inner Game of Tennis. Damn, bro. I've done so many like book reviews on Patreon, bro. I'm like confused on which one I was thinking of. But it was actually The Inner Game of Tennis that actually changed how I look at competition and enemies, the word enemies. It was in The Inner Game of Tennis. This book directly said, my enemy is my friend. It is only through the threat of my greatest enemy that I have to be as sharp as my hardest problem. I'm creating this quote, but it just sounds better to me. It created this whole narrative that you are only as strong as your enemy. You're only as strong as your problems. If me and there's a person out here who wants to kill me, right? And let's imagine I'm an animal. Let's say I'm a cheetah. Or no, I'm a gazelle or some shit. I'm a gazelle, and the animal trying to kill me is a slug or a sloth or a bird or some shit. But if it's a cheetah, I gotta be faster. I gotta be stronger. I gotta be more aware. I gotta be able to have the eyesight to peep the bushes. It's a metaphor of life. Your problems and your struggles and your enemies are literally your friends. Your competition is your friend. And he said that he used his mentality to change how he looks at competing in tennis, right? Because as he would do in tournaments and stuff, he would get extremely nervous. But instead of being nervous, he went into an appreciative mindset and a much more calm and open mentality when going into these tournaments, because his mentality went from, I got to prove myself right, I'm better than them, I got to win. And all that mental pressure that he put on himself and all that natural anxiety he prepared himself to take on, it changed and shifted to a place of confidence and self-esteem where he now goes, I'm the same person and player I was before I left the crib, after I left the crib. And even as I'm playing these opponents, the only thing they can do is make me better. If not, I can only make them better. I'm going to attack their weaknesses. Because if I attack their weaknesses and they don't correct them, then that's a fault on them as a competitor. If I attack their weaknesses and they notice that it's a weakness and they shift and they update, they get better, forcing me to get better. It's all types of shit. Because he used to talk about when he would practice or spar, he would be aware consciously of, like, let's say, the person I'm playing is weak on their left hand. He's using tennis, but it's a lot of game in it, Chad. It's a lot of game in it. He'd be like, this person is weak with their left hand. So I'm not going to hit their left hand. I'm just going to train and work with them. I'm going to swing with it right. Now he'll say, I'll keep attacking the left hand if they can't stop me. Because why aren't you telling yourself that I need to improve my left hand? And maybe you don't even know your left hand sucks. Maybe you don't even know your left hand could be the reason you lose the most important game of your life. So if I don't cook you, if I don't smoke you 20 zip because your left hand sucks, I'm hurting you. I'm directly hurting you. It's deep. You'd even think about it when it comes to people pleasing and not being the most confident version of yourself. And not holding your head high, moving strong, and talking your shit, popping your shit. I remember that Courage to Be This was saying something about the idea of having competition stem from a bad mentality or something along those lines. What do you think about that? This is the thing. It's what I'm getting at with discernment. You can't read every book and try to hope all the information is collaborative. That just doesn't work. You can't read, you can't take on information and think all the information that you have is going to work together. You're going to find authors that provide two different perspectives on the same topic, or mentality or approach to a topic. Take competition. Those books have provided two narratives and two opinions and two thought processes on the idea of competition. So it's like, to now bring up the courage to be just like when we're talking about the inner game of tennis, I agree with that mentality more, and I like that one more,